I read a story in the news last week of a dramatic rescue of a 13-year-old girl by a pastor and his wife. And I knew it was a story that needed to be told on 100 Huntley Street. So we have on the line Pastor Dan and Leanne Wood from Full Gospel Tabernacle in Frankfort, Ontario. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Well, Dan and Leanne, maybe you could just take a couple minutes and describe what happened.
Well, it was last Wednesday night. We have our family night here at the church, and we were just wrapping things up, and most people had left the church, and we were getting ready to leave the church. It was just us and one other family here at the church, and our kids were outside, and we were inside getting ready to set the alarm for the church to lock up, and we heard a very loud crash outside, and we all looked at each other kind of wondering what that was when all of a sudden one of our daughters came running to the door in a panic, burst through the door, and just said to us, "Megan is in the river." And your heart stops at that moment, and we all rushed outside and just bewildered. It would be the only word that I can think to describe, looking at the gaping hole in the fence and then looking down at the river and seeing a car upside down, half submerged in the water.
So this 13-year-old girl, Megan, was in the car by herself?
She was.
Yes, we had a couple, our car and the other family's car, we were just warming them up because it was so cold Wednesday night. And our parking lot, we're right on the Trent River, and it's about a 10-foot drop from the river, or from the parking lot into the river. And somehow their car went into reverse and revved up, from what I understand, and burst through the fence at an angle. And so as it did, it flipped upside down and went into the river, and then the current carried it part way down the river, just a short distance.
Wow. So it's dark out. You see the crash. You hear the screams. You know, Megan's in the river. And so what do you do then?
Well, her dad and I ran right over to where it went through. And my first reaction was to take off my jacket, and I was about to jump into the river. Fortunately, I've had a little bit of training. I served with a volunteer fire department for several years up in the Ottawa Valley. And my training kind of kicked in, and I recognized that if I jumped into a dark river 10 feet down into the rocks, I was probably going to end up hurt and just make the situation worse. So quickly evaluated the situation and realized, again, just a miracle of God. We happened to be doing some painting in our sanctuary, and so we had a large ladder set up in the sanctuary. And so we quickly ran in, grabbed the ladder, ran back out, got the ladder into the water, and by that point my wife was all prepared and had her stuff off and was down the ladder into the water to go look for Megan.
Wow. Okay, so then was she okay? Was she just trying to find a way out, or how did you get her out?
Well, when Dan was running to get the ladder, I actually stood on the side of the river there with my daughters, and we just started praying, and the peace of God just fell on us in such a powerful way that I had no fear going into that river, and I'm deathly afraid of ice water and current water. But it was the peace of God that was there, and I was able to get over to the car. I tried the door. It was locked, and so I yelled back to shore that the car is locked and I can't get in. And so I crossed the current again back over to the ladder, got the tool back through the current to the car, tried to gain some leverage to break the window that was submerged, but there was no way. I could hardly stand in the current. And that was when Dan decided to come into the river with me. And then we moved around to the back of the car, and it was so dark we couldn't see our hands in front of our faces. And so we were feeling the bumper, feeling for the window on the back of the vehicle when we both realized that the hatch was open on the car because our hands were going inside. And we just started grabbing at things and tugging as hard as we could to get them out of the way, and calling for Megan, and she answered us. She called out in her voice, "I'm here," and those were the two best words I've ever heard.
So she was able to crawl out through the hatch, and you were able to get her to shore to safety.
In the vehicle, and obviously pitch black, upside down in the water, just had a crash. But she was fantastic. She kept her composure. She never panicked. and we were able to talk her through it and get her to the back of the vehicle. Again, just several miracles that happened there, but we got her to the back of the vehicle and were able to lift her out. Unfortunately, once we got around to the edge of the vehicle, the current is so strong, and by that time, hypothermia had set in, and she couldn't stand in the current. And so I was able to get her over to the edge of the bank and make our way back upstream to where the ladder was, where her dad was waiting. By that time, hypothermia had also set in on Leanne, and so I had told her just grab onto the car and just stay there, and then came back and grabbed a hold of her and was able to get her back to the ladder as well.
Wow.
And by time just about the time we got to the top of the ladder, the first rescue vehicles from the fire department were pulling into the parking lot.
Wow. What an amazing story. And I'm sure there were a lot of small miracles along the way that made it all happen. Maybe just point out a couple of quick ones.
Oh, there's tons. A couple days prior to the accident, the regulators of the Trent River lowered the water level by about 2 feet. The angle at which the van went in, if it had gone in at any other angle, it would have completely filled the cabin with water. The fact that a locked safety latch on the back tailgate released and the tailgate flipped open. When Megan was making her way out, she had to put her face below the water line. She said she had to close her mouth because of the water. Yet somehow when she got out of the vehicle, her hair, which is below her shoulders, was perfectly dry.
Root to tip, dry.
Just so many miracles of God that just, it's chilling, and it shouldn't surprise us.
Right.
Yet it still overwhelms us.
Wow. Well, Pastor Dan and Leanne Wood, thank you so much for sharing that story and for going far above and beyond in service to your flock there in Frankfurt, Ontario. God bless you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Wow. What a great story.